When you think about a firefighter, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably the heroics, right? The fires, the rescues. But what about all the time in between? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the quiet, unseen work that makes all that heroism even possible.
So let me ask you a question. What do you think volunteer firefighters actually talk about in their meetings? I mean, really. Training, maybe buying new gear? Yeah, sure, that's part of it. But what we're about to see is so much more complex and honestly, way more fascinating.
So let's get right into it. We've got our hands on the actual meeting minutes from a Volunteer Firefighters Association in Pennsylvania. This is a rare, totally unfiltered look into the engine room of a community's first line of defense. This is the real deal.
Okay, so the meeting kicks off at 7:04 p.m., and right away the tone is set. This isn't just some casual get-together. It starts with the Pledge of Allegiance, a prayer, and then a moment of silence for their departed brothers. That tells you everything. This is a true brotherhood, steeped in respect and a real understanding of the risks they all share.
First up, we see that running a modern fire association is a lot like running a modern business. It's not all sirens in action. A huge chunk of the job is just nuts and bolts administration and operations. And their first order of business might actually surprise you, picking an internet provider. No, this is not for streaming movies in the firehouse. This is a critical upgrade for their training site, because the state is moving all certification and testing online. Without a solid connection, their ability to train new firefighters is basically dead in the water. So what do? They do their homework. They get quotes from T-Mobile and Verizon, two of the big players. And this isn't just about finding the cheapest deal. It's about being responsible with their money and finding the best long-term value. And just look at the level of detail here. They've crunched the numbers, they've annualized the costs, and they've even noted that T-Mobile needs a $1,000 antenna right out of the gate. They even figured out they could save money with Verizon by getting a seasonal plan that only covers their active training months. I mean, this is some serious, responsible financial planning. So, after all the discussion, a motion is made, it gets a second, and the vote passes. The decision? They're going with a high-speed Verizon plan. Total annual cost? $1,341. It's a formal, democratic process for a decision that's going to directly impact their future. But get this, their work goes way beyond their own firehouses. It turns out these volunteers are also really sharp political advocates. They're out there fighting for laws that protect not just themselves, but all of us. I mean, their legislative agenda is just fascinating. They're keeping tabs on a bill to make sure volunteers get workers' comp if they get hurt at a fundraiser. They're watching policy on how they get paid back for fighting forest fires, and they're pushing a bill to require carbon monoxide detectors in childcare centers. This is real, active engagement in public safety policy. And they're not just sitting around talking about it. They take a formal vote to support these bills. And then they literally task their secretary to write letters directly to their U.S. senators. This is what grassroots advocacy looks like in its purest form, turning a conversation into direct political action. Okay, so they manage the business side, they influence policy, but how do they make sure this whole thing keeps going? Well, the third big theme of this meeting is all about sustainability, building their ranks for the future and making their communities stronger today. Take a look at this number, 5. What do you think that represents? That's how many brand new fire departments applied to join the association in a single meeting. At a time when you hear so much about volunteer numbers dropping, this organization is clearly doing something right. It's a thriving regional hub. And they're coming from all over the place. Look at this list of counties: Bedford, Clearfield, Center, Blair. This shows you just how big their influence is growing and how much other departments want to band together for training, support, and just to have a stronger, unified voice. And a huge reason for that appeal is their absolute commitment to being professionals. They're already setting dates for fire school for 2026. They're scheduling mandatory workshops for their instructors and making sure every single one is registered on the official state system. This is just a relentless drive for excellence. But it's not all formal rules and regulations. The admin secretary's report is where you see the culture, the glue that holds it all together. They're asking members for deer posts, probably sharing pictures from hunting season. They're designing hats and challenge coins to build pride. They're planning fundraisers and writing thank you letters to sponsors. This is the stuff that builds a community. So when you step back and look at everything that happened in this single 2-hour meeting, you realize something pretty profound. The heroic stuff we see during an emergency, that doesn't just happen out of nowhere. It's made possible by countless hours of this kind of unseen work.
I mean, these volunteers, they're not just first responders. They are business managers, debating internet plans. They're political advocates, writing letters to senators. They're community organizers, planning fundraisers. And they're dedicated trainers, shaping the next generation. All of this has to happen before they can even think about rolling out the door for a call.
And to put a final pin in this, at the end of the meeting, a roll call was taken. 23. That's how many separate fire companies had members show up that night, volunteering even more of their time just to keep the entire region safe. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? From the local library to the youth sports league, what other essential parts of your own community are being held up day in and day out by the same kind of invisible, dedicated, and absolutely vital work?